Hey, what's up guys? I hope you're doing well, and today I'm just super excited because I've got some amazing news to share with you. And it's something that I think a lot of you guys have been waiting on for a very long time. Just a few hours ago today, Void Interactive officially dropped a brand new trailer on their YouTube channel, and with it came the long-awaited announcement that Ready or Not is finally coming to consoles. That's right, the best tactical shooter on the market, a game that many of us have poured hours into dissecting and mastering and analyzing, is finally going to be playable on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. And let me just be the first to say, that's insane, right? Not in like the hyperbolic clickbaity way, but in a real honest to God, I never thought we'd see the day sort of way. I mean, just think about it for a second, right? Ready or Not started off as this gritty little game tucked away in Steam Early Access. They didn't have a flashy AAA marketing budget. They didn't have the forced battle pass bullshit. It was just pure, hard-hitting gameplay and a vision to deliver the most realistic SWAT experience possible. And over time, this little game built a community. A lot of us being these borderline obsessive fans that don't just play the game, but we replayed it, and we analyze it, and we make content for it, and just all of this other stuff. And now to see how far it's come from that shaky, humble beginning to a full-blown console debut is honestly kind of surreal. What makes this even more special for me personally is that I know a massive portion of you guys, the people who support this channel, are primarily console players. A lot of you guys have been in my comments since day one saying, you know, Ready or Not looks incredible, but when's it coming to console? And now the wait is over. It's finally happening, and it's happening this summer. Now, if you haven't seen the trailer just yet, it's playing on screen as I speak, and let me tell you here, Void just did a phenomenal job with it. This isn't like your typical flashy, explosion-filled trailer. It's a lot more deliberate and more intense than that, and to me, it sort of oozes the identity that Ready or Not has been carving out since its inception. Now, something that I thought was really cool was that nearly every single mission in the game gets at least a brief visual nod, which is just awesome. It's kind of wild to see how they managed to cram all of this content to fit within such a short time frame, but they did, and they really made it work. So with all of that out of the way, let's talk logistics, what we know and don't know. The trailer that was released today confirmed that Ready or Not will be launching on consoles this summer, and that's the word that they used, summer. Now, whether that means early June, mid-July, or the tail end of August, we don't quite know yet. Void hasn't locked in a firm date, but if I had to speculate based on their typical sort of release schedule, I'd wager that late July is probably the earliest that we'll see this. That time frame would give them enough time to squash any last-minute bugs and polish the console release just a bit more, but honestly, who knows? What we do know, though, is this. The console release will include full crossplay between all platforms, meaning that if you have a PlayStation, you'll be able to play with your friends on Xbox, or you'll be able to play with your friends on PC. And let me just pause the video to say this really quickly. Thank you, Void. A crossplay should sort of be industry standard at this point, but so many developers still continue to ignore it, especially when you see games transition from PC first over to console. But by including this on day one, Void sort of shows us that they get it. They understand that gaming is social and no one wants to buy another copy just to play with their friends. So whether you're on PS5, Xbox Series X, or PC, you'll be able to squad up and break your ROE together, which is just, I'm here for it. Now let's shift gears for a second and talk about predictions, because there's one question that I've already been asked several times. Do you think the console release will include all of the DLC? And honestly, I think it will. If Void is smart here, and judging by their past moves, I think that they are, they'll treat this as a sort of special edition for consoles. On PC, we already have those DLC packs, and we already have a bundle, but on console, first impressions matter here. You want your players to jump in and feel like they're getting the complete experience. So if Void packages this thing with the base game plus the DLC, I could easily see a $60 price tag feeling justified. Now, at this point in the video, a lot of my PC players out there are probably watching this and saying, awesome, console release, what do we get? And do not for a second worry, because Void definitely didn't forget about us. You see, alongside this console release, Void is also dropping a free content update called Stories from Los Suenos. This is huge news, okay? This isn't just a bug patch or a new coat of paint. This is a substantial drop with meaningful content. And here's what we know about it so far. In this update, we'll see 4 new weapons, including a pepperball pistol, a 50 cal pistol, a new shotgun, and a grenade launcher. Now, the pepperball pistol is probably the most exciting weapon of the bunch, at least to me anyway, because finally it'll give us a proper, less lethal sidearm to use on some of our missions. Right now, your only options are basically the taser or pepper spray, which work fine but are limited, right? There's not a whole lot of situations in the game where you can use pepper spray. This will give us some tactical variety, especially for those of us who like going full non-lethal on certain missions. But the other guns aren't anything to scoff at either. Being able to run around in Ready or Not with a grenade launcher as a primary would be insane, and I'm really excited for when we'll be able to finally use these weapons in-game. But aside from weapons, this update will contain something even more exciting, as Void also confirmed that 2 brand new maps will be given to players for free. And the way that they phrased it in this announcement was really interesting to me. They said that these maps would be, quote, familiar territory with a whole new coat of paint. Now, to me, that sort of sounds like we might be getting some reimagined versions of maps that have been removed. Maybe we're finally going to get a remastered version of that old hotel mission. I mean, who knows? If Void's able to bring back some of these old beloved maps with updated layouts and lighting and stories, that would be wonderful. Now, I understand that 2 maps might not sound like a lot to some of you guys, but when you factor in how replayable these missions are and how the only maps that we've seen lately have been DLCs, this is a huge win. Aside from these new maps though, there are also some other features that I find worth mentioning, such as the training mode overhaul. Now this is something that we've really needed for a long time in Ready or Not. The current training setup is functional, but it's sort of bare bones. A proper immersive training facility could really help new players get up to speed without jumping into a live operation right away. This update also mentions a new difficulty selector, which is just an absolute game changer. One of the biggest complaints that Ready or Not has continued to receive is how hard it can be, especially for solo players or newcomers. Void giving their players more control over the difficulty that they play at means better accessibility for their game and a wider player base. I mean, this is probably the best quality of life feature that they could have added to the game. Anyways, this update marks a massive milestone for Void Interactive, but it also raises the question, what comes next? If the console launch is successful, we could be looking at a whole new era of Ready or Not. And let's not forget the potential for lore expansions. Stories from Los Suenos sounds like it's the first step in a deeper dive into the world this game's created. Perhaps in the future, we could see some more story-driven missions down the line. If Void plays this update and release right, Ready or Not could become the benchmark for tactical shooters for years to come. But with all of that being said, here's where we stand so far. Ready or Not is coming to consoles this summer. It will support crossplay between all platforms. PC players will be receiving a massive free update called Stories from Los Suenos, and in that update we'll be getting new weapons, new maps, and some serious quality of life changes. And for the first time in a while, it feels like Ready or Not's getting the spotlight that it deserves. If you've never played Ready or Not before, now is the perfect time to get on board. It's coming to console, there's a load of cool content right around the corner, and you could get lost in its world for hours. Los Suenos is about to get a whole lot more crowded, and I, for one, couldn't be more excited. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch today's video. I usually do more narrative-focused content on this channel, but this news was literally too big to ignore, and I just had to say something about it. So if you want to stay tuned for more updates or check out some of my other Ready or Not content, all I ask is that you take the time to subscribe. But with all of that being said, you know I love you. I'm out.